Yeah! Oh no, we're on the wrong side. Shit. There we go. Hi everyone! Hello everyone. How are you, Ambassador?
Doing good. Thanks for asking. Sorry that we're starting a little bit later today, but we appreciate your patience. Sometimes
Yeah, we do.
shit goes a little sideways, but we're here. And we
Yeah,
hope you
we
guys are
are.
having a wonderful Friday. It is Friday, right?
Yes, it is Friday. And you know what? Sometimes data just locks you out of all of the systems when you're about to die. And sometimes you
She's
just
so
have to
powerful.
adapt and get on with it. That's just what happens.
That seems to be another recurring theme of what we're doing is data like making a choice to do something pretty insane, to be honest.
Data making unilateral decisions that affect everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah, like I don't remember Geordie ever pulling this shit. I don't remember Geordie locking everyone out of the ship.
Okay, but who
And
has the
I have
ability to do
questions.
that? Like,
I
I don't.
mean, if Data does, anyone at his level or like above does. So Geordie does. Technically, Beverly does. Riker. So not many people, but it seems to be Data that does it a lot.
Yeah, he's definitely OP. You're right about
He's
that.
super OP. He would not
You're
be
right about
allowed in
that,
my
Zink.
D&D game. He would be nerfed so quick. He would be awarded to the group and then removed the next week. Yes, he was stolen in the night. You never see him again.
Jagged says Data takes over the ship and almost kills people. Cliche.
Ding. Yeah,
Mm-hmm,
absolutely.
mm-hmm.
Hello to everybody in the chat. Oh wait, yeah, I just literally put that one up and then you took it away. That's so funny.
I know. I was like bowing and then all of a sudden it went away. Hello, smelly
bow to you,
carpet.
smelly
Although
carpet.
bowing to a smelly carpet.
Oh no.
Let's all take a moment and think of a time that you have smelled a disgusting carpet in your life.
And for those in England, don't take that the rude way. It is not that kind of show. It is that kind of show.
You can tell the truth tonight. It was Ian's fault. No, it was not Ian's fault. This one was all on me. Although I don't know how much was avoidable considering I am playing catch up after 2 days of being unwell. So
She's been confined to sick bay, relieved of her duties.
Consider it would be like being confined to sick bay and then being released and having a row of people that as I walk from sick bay to the bridge, I'm just like, there's people with all their little pads, you know, like they're like, what about this? What about this? What about this? And like, as I'm trying to get to the show, I'm stopping and having conversations with people. And that's okay. Sometimes that happens. Guys, we're running a business here, okay?
It happens.
There's a lot of stuff to do.
Happens.
Yeah, you can still blame me in the 8s. Absolutely.
I can't remember what this is referring to, Zink, but yes, I do.
Hi, James. Hi, those on YouTube and on Twitch. We're just kind of like looking through all of the, I'm looking through, I guess I shouldn't assume what Ian's doing. I'm looking through all of the notes from the very beginning. When you guys can see that we're going to go live, you can go ahead and join the chat before the show starts. And so special hello to Michael, who was here an hour ago. I believe over an hour ago.
Hi, Michael.
So
thanks for hanging around, buddy.
hanging out. I love that you guys jump in the chat like super early and hang out and everything.
Wait. Okay, 3 minutes starting now.
Okay, I'll just go ahead and I guess start the counter a whole bunch. Like,
really
do we just play this a lot? We're not doing that.
Would it freak Josh if he came back and there was actually a 3-minute count? Oh no, what did I do? I actually stopped the show.
Hi, you don't connect. Hi, Derek. It's good to see
you. Hey.
Derek is one of our sinners in our sin club. It's nice to see you. Live long in Podspur. I'm glad you can be here.
Derek.
Hi, Sarah. Oh, I made too much from mess. Oh my God. I mean, are you sharing?
There's never too much. That is the only amount to make. Whether accidental or deliberate. It's like rice and pasta. You always make too much.
Sticky carpet is a lot worse. I'm literally okay. So I've stayed at houses where they still had shag carpet, and when I have a memory. I don't remember what house I was in. I think I was probably around 8 or 9 years old, and I was at like a friend's house, like a stayover or sleepover or something. And when you're doing a sleepover, I mean, you're supposed to bring like a backpack and your little sleeping bag and or have a place to sleep. And I just remember at this one occasion, my location for sleeping at the sleepover was like right up against the sofa on the floor. And for whatever reason, I could smell the carpet, and it was like a really plushy shag carpet. And I just remember looking underneath the couch, and I could see stuff under the couch. And I remember reaching out and just
no, you didn't. You didn't.
Yes,
There's no
I
need
did.
to do that.
I was a kid. I mean,
There's no need. Should have been raised better. There's no need to do that.
No. Smelly Carpet. I was going to recommend a movie for CinemaSins to cover, but I fear for your sanity. Whew, we love getting your recommendations. I always kind of feel bad because there's more of you than us, and we can only review so many things at once. But we have so many great suggestions come in through all kinds of outlets. But we definitely pay attention to what you guys say, and we wish we could get to it all. Like, truly, if we could do every movie suggested to us,
oh my goodness,
we would love to.
We can't even do every Star Trek episode suggested to us.
Like, I have one that I want us to do from my childhood too, and I'm like, I always feel bad when if we brainstorm, I don't want to bring it up because there's this massive list of suggested videos that I feel like we should get to before.
No, they would love your suggestion. They would love it. Just do it. Do it.
No. Yeah.
Do it.
I guess I could write the script and just send it. Just 100% me.
Yeah.
Just
absolutely.
fangirling
Well,
about.
that's basically what we did with Lord of the Rings, the animated one.
Oh
we
my
just
God.
like, we want to do this, Chris, and you're like, okay, you doing it.
God, that movie.
Why do we do that?
That movie, you and me, when you were in the US at that time, and I remember you were over at my place. And I was sitting in my chair and you're sitting across on the couch. We're just like watching it separately, but at the same time, just like, what the fuck is this movie?
Thing? What is rotoscoping? What is this animation style? And
how many drugs are there?
And why does it end so abruptly in the middle of a story and it never gets resolved?
Yeah.
I do kind of love the semi-hate that I'm getting in the chat.
For what?
Having a giant water bottle. Like, what's wrong with this? And
okay, it is ridiculous. Like, I feel like it's ridiculous.
Ian out here draining lakes with his big water bottle. The great water shortage of 2023. Well, if it makes you feel better, here we go. Let's take that. Oh, let's take that off.
Thanks, Michael. We're glad you're here.
This is mostly empty, and we'll just. There we go.
Is carpet the new docking? No.
Cheers, everyone.
Oh, there you are. That's much better. See, I have mine in an appropriately sized small glass that I can take several large gulps of and then just be desperately thirsty. But don't worry, I have a backup. I have this massive thing, and in here, even more liquid. Is it water? Nope.
Wait, what's in there then?
I'll let you guess.
Oh, that's gross.
Honestly, JCD, me either.
Interesting.
I exercised an hour early, so I wouldn't be late today. And if I had known that all I had to do was ask for a delay of the show, ... Well, what sucks is that we're late enough that you probably could have.
Yeah, you would have been fine. We're literally an hour late. You would have been absolutely fine.
You're welcome, Josh. You're welcome. This is my first time, says Jose. Hey, it's good to see you. My first time in Captain's Pod. Welcome. For those of you who are new, what we do in this show is Ian and I hang out for a little bit, talk to you guys, catch up, answer some questions, laugh a little bit, and then we officially start the show. And what the official show means is that we record the podcast. So we're recording right now, but none of this, unless it's delightfully hilarious, we'll make it into the actual podcast because we're recording our podcast live with you guys.
Say whatever you want. You're completely free.
Anything goes.
Not being broadcast to anybody.
Fart bubbles. Why do I think
Why
the
was
weirdest
that the
thing?
I don't know. First thing you think of.
I'm not sure, Ian. I'm gonna
pop your fart bubble.
Something.
That was meant to be like.
Please don't.
Pop your bubble of excitement.
Please don't.
No. Okay.
It's a very personal thing.
That's no fun for anybody.
No. That's very personal. So when we do record the show proper, we essentially kind of stop interacting live with the chat
You're
so
dead
that
to
we
us.
can focus, record the actual podcast, and then at the end of that recording, we come back and start to pay more attention to what's happening with you guys at home. So we save your comments. Sometimes we pop them up on the screen during the show, but that's the general vibe. We laugh. We have a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck was the robot hand about?
Oh, so yeah, that was why when you put your hand as a child under
Oh.
the sofa, it's famous. It's why you now have a
And
robot hand.
that's why.
That's
And
the origin
now
story
you know
of
the
that.
whole story.
The more you know.
Along that same line of carpet conversation, this one came from Michael. I don't walk barefoot in other people's houses.
It's smart. It's smart. We should do a poll. Do you walk barefoot in
Okay.
other people's houses? I'll get
Okay.
on that poll.
All right, I'll make the poll.
Now, for
New poll.
anybody new, Danae's polls don't usually go as you expect. You might be expecting a yes or no to this poll. I can almost guarantee that neither of those things will be available answers to you. So just take these polls for as they are intended. They are factual information gathering vessels. Rando Dave, you are correct. We are a comedy, satire, parody, channel, comedy thing that sometimes forgets the comedy. We are not reviewers. Very true. Although this is reviewing.
Okay, poll is up. You guys You guys, there's only two options. Option number 1, and this is for the Twitch people. Sorry, on YouTube, we don't know how to do polls on YouTube. I don't even know if we can. But for those on Twitch, your options are, the question is, do you walk barefoot in people's houses? The options are, fuck that, no way, and yes, I love skin cells.
I love my skin cells. Oh,
gross.
It's really, really gross.
What movie is this? What?
Oh, what movie was being recommended?
Oh, I don't know.
I believe Smelly Carpet replied, The Amazing Bulk. And I don't know if this is like a dirty movie. It sounds like a dirty movie.
I mean, that's just waiting to be sinned. Let's be honest.
It really is.
We
it
actually
sounds like a really dirty porno.
We had a Patreon message earlier too from, I think, Hayden. So this was on Sin Club, and they said, I will rewatch certain hello, my name is Hayden. I'm a huge fan of your videos. I will rewatch certain videos for the joy they cause, and I use you as a buffer for certain horror movies if I don't want to watch them myself. Honestly, same.
Oh, 100%.
I was wondering if you took suggestions. My dad had a movie from 1987 called Overboard on TV the one night, and I could almost hear the sins going off as I cringed. I would love to see what you guys can do with it. This is the kind of message we love to get, and I have ones as well that I'm like, I kind of just want to go in and just give it the hell.
Goldie Hawn, Kurt Russell. Man, I have never seen this movie. It looks ridiculous.
Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell?
Uh-huh.
Oh my God, my parents watched that movie. I'm having memories.
Yeah, this is the film that everyone's parents watched.
Okay, so I think in this one, like, she loses her memory of who she is, and then she ends up, like, maybe she's wealthy, but then she loses her memory and she stays with Kurt Russell, who is, like, not great, and he has kids, and she's just, like, kind of like a housewife while her memory comes back or something.
You've nailed it!
Really?
Yeah, well done. A
Holy
cruel
shit.
but beautiful heiress mocks and cheats a hired carpenter. When she gets amnesia after an accident, he decides to introduce her to regular life by convincing her that they're husband and wife.
He totally kidnaps her.
Horrible, horrible movie. Horrible plot.
How fun would that one be to sin? Anyway,
so fun. It's all of them messed up.
There's so many in the 80s we should sin, like Splash, right? Like, come on, let's do Splash.
I'm amazed we haven't done Splash already. That's one of those that...
That's one that's on my list. Like, we gotta do that. Let's get back to your water bottle while we're getting ready for the show to start.
Yeah, apparently. It is the same style, but I went for a green one. I purchased it. I was getting a lot of headaches, and I realized that when I started drinking water, the headaches stopped. Go figure. So I will take the judgment. So now here's the logic. Here's the logic behind the water bottle. And I honestly don't know if this is Aaron's logic or not, but this turns it into a competition for me. this makes it productive. So if I have got through now I don't get through one of these a day, it's one every 2 days. So half is my target and then the other half is the next day. It's a game. I'm a child. It hydrates me. It works. The headaches have stopped.
I'm pinning some of your questions. I think like James Chesson had a question. I'm going to pin some of these for the end of the show because we want to go ahead and jump in here in just a second. Well, let's go ahead and answer this one. This is easy. Yes, I do know how to play chess. Am I good at it? Is another question.
Have we ever played
entirely
chess?
You and I together? Like against each other? You would remember.
No, I would remember.
You would
have kicked my butt.
It would be traumatic.
Or we would suddenly realize that you're playing checkers. It's like, no, that's not chess.
No, I have not played chess in so long. I would remember if I would play chess recently.
Mm-hmm.
Unless I am a robot, unless I'm an ex-comp who has had my memory wiped.
Mm-hmm. I think this is exactly what would happen is we would play chess. Yeah. You would beat me so bad that I would erase your memory of it happening so I could stay superior.
Or you would like fry your own circuitry to forget that you had lost to someone else.
And we all just agree. There's an episode of Star Trek for everything. Like, so in Voyager, the holographic doctor realizes that there's a crew member that he's never heard of that appears in like a photo or something, and he has memories of, and they've deleted her from his memory because she and Harry Kim were in an accident. They had identical injuries, and he could only save one of them, and he chose Harry Kim, and it broke his programming because he basically chose his friend over the other officer that he didn't know as well. And he's like, I shouldn't be allowed to do that. That's really fucked up. And they had to erase the entire thing from his program in order for him to still function. It's so messed up. We should not have AI. We should not be creating life.
Since I can't stay long, Ian, let me know when you want to try and guess the ship on Discord. So just as a reminder, we do have Discord you guys can join. It is for CinemaSins, and then we have different kind of sections within the Discord for this show, Behind the Sins, Recotopia. We have a Sin Club for those that are Patreon supporters that have access to other kind of things, including getting shows early and things like that. So there's lots of ways to connect, but the reason that you really go to Discord is for the fan base. I mean, our fans are incredible and they're always interacting. We have the most incredible moderators who are making sure that everything is running smoothly. It's one of my favorite parts of working for CinemaSins is the people who are there, and that's you guys. Yeah. So join on Discord if you haven't already.
Heck yeah.
Well,
I just like that Derek put up the face. I'm not going to full name everybody all the time, I promise. But I can't remember what Derek's face is in reference to, but I'm sure it's deserved. I'm sure it's something we did that was gross. And we deserve
there is a remake, says Sarah, gender swap of Overboard, and it's weird as a bag of Christmas decorations in July.
Oh, man, that's weird.
Yeah,
there are certain films we don't need to remake.
I mean,
we just don't need to remake that stuff.
There is a quick question about your water. How many liters is that?
That is, I think 3.78 liters, which is 1 gallon. 1 gallon of water.
Okay.
Jagged was in a chess club.
I have a little plaque somewhere that says chess champion, and it's from when I was 12.
I actually finally fucking got caught up on chat. You guys have been insane today.
I haven't.
Let's look at the polls. Do you walk barefoot in people's houses? 93. Fuck that. No way. 7. Yes, I like skin cells.
Yeah, I'm fine. Like I just take my shoes off. I don't like wearing my shoes. I feel like I'm tracking mud everywhere, regardless.
Just even when you're barefoot, or like just it just
no, I mean,
seeps out of your skin, or
I still have my socks on, not like barefoot, okay. Because I don't like my toes. But I keep my socks on, but just not my shoes. Yeah.
Wow.
I still haven't caught up with the chat. I may just have to give up on that.
Big thanks to Link for contributing some of your channel points to boost that poll.
Yay!
I think that's kind of
Boom.
one fun thing that we can do is try to do those. We don't really have a lot of ways for the people who are on Twitch to use your channel points because we have so many different kinds of shows. But some things you guys can do on Twitch that we really will enjoy during the show is we do have a red alert that you guys can throw up in the chat anytime you want. And we have like a no. So if you're not liking something and you just want to do that, you can do that. There's also the ding. If you feel like there's a sin, you're welcome to use those.
Red alert! Red alert!
This has come up several times, Link. I just don't think, it's oddly related to the show. Let's talk about that here in just a moment. But before we do,
Yeah.
Link, thank you for your resub, using your Prime subscription for 3 months. It's insane. Especially because if you do use your Prime subscription to support our Twitch channel, it's great because everybody has a free Twitch sub with your Prime account. So if you're not using your free subscription on Twitch and you want to give it to us, you can. But you can also give it to other channels. So you can kind of go month at a time and sort of spread the love around. But thank you for doing that for 3 months. And then Just One More Try also subbed with their Prime. So thank you.
Thank you, Joe. That's my good buddy Joe, who said he will walk barefoot in my house, but with the quotation marks, and I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means.
It's because he knows
was
where I
it
live.
walk? Was in quotation mark? Like what word was in quotation
No, I think
marks?
it was like in my house was in the quotation marks.
What does that
I have
mean?
to try and find it again. Where are you? Where are you?
And I
Joe?
think during Recotopia, Slab
Oh.
resubscribed at tier 1. So that's not even the Prime. That's just a straight subscription. So thank you,
What a
Slab, for
dude.
that. I don't know if everybody gets shouted out during Recotopia because their live shows formatted just a little bit differently than ours. So appreciate that so much, you guys. Before
The
we get
Ian's was in
Ian's.
scare quotes.
Ian's
I don't know
house?
what
Like,
that
so
means.
does that mean like you're not really a person?
Yeah, I'm not.
What is that? Are you a
Ian thinks he has a
Ian
house.
is Ian
That's amazing.
is an exocomp.
That's amazing. I don't have a red beard, Nick. Get out of the chat. I will end you. Right, I do need to clarify something from Nick. Using channel points to highlight this message makes me feel squicky, as Ian would say. No, Ian would not say that.
Squiffy?
Squiffy.
Squiffy.
Ian would say squiffy. Do
I
not
like
misquote me,
squicky.
sir.
I like
Son of a
squicky.
bitch. Squicky. Man, this is all just a bit squicky.
Okay, listen. Zink is saying those were asterisks, not quote marks.
No, what else? What
Ian's house.
are the asterisks
Okay,
meant to be
probably
then?
to emphasize Ian, not Danae. Like, I will come to Ian's house, but not Danae's house because maybe that would be creepier to come to my house. I mean, just
Yeah,
to be clear,
maybe.
don't show up at my house.
Who, me?
Anyone.
Oh, okay. It's
not a
I
good
have
idea.
an invite.
So
Oh, man.
I'm going to tell you something before we start. No. I'll tell you in the show. I'll tell you in the show proper when we
Okay,
actually start.
okay.
Let me
Red
update
beard
some
and then
banners
brains,
while you get to the last comments, and then we'll officially start the show.
Beautiful. Red beards on men with brown hair are squicky. You're squicky. Shut up. Oh, they're the old school bold formatting. So it was like I would wear their shoes at Ian's house. It was angry. It was loud. That's what when someone
What
writes
is
in bold, I
that?
assume they're shouting at me. Amazing. Amazing. Oh, that's fair. That's fair. Josh does have a beard, actually. Josh does have a beard. I really am envious of the bald head, big beard situation. Like I would shave my hair before I shave my beard. That's yeah. I would definitely do that. Would there be outrage if I shave my hair off?
Your hair or your
Yeah.
beard?
No, my hair and kept the beard.
I don't think so.
Good. That was a test. You passed. Well done.
Thank
I mean,
you.
that's what I imagine. Kratos from God of War. That is always what I imagine, but I know it's not what I'll look like. I'll just look like a fuzzy tennis ball.
I get you, Rando. I
Yeah.
feel that.
Exactly. I do have, while the ambassador is doing things, I do have one more thing to share and geek out about.
Okay.
But-
Let's just give you the full stage here.
Guys, this is beautiful. This is the Star Trek Next Generation Technical Manual by Michael Okuda, who created the Akudagram, which is the console format operating system that you see, the LCARS thing that you see on TNG. Look at this book. This book is just all technical graphs and specs. It's amazing. It has like maps. That's the freaking warp core. Okay, that is a diagram of the freaking warp core, and more like schematics. And that's just a panel. That's just an engineering panel. It's just got pictures and shit. And the saucer this is how the saucer section landed. It's I say landed. It's just an exploded view of the thing. I could eat this book. I could literally eat this book. Yeah. Oh, the toilet on the sorry, the toilet. There is a toilet on the bridge. Where is it? Because there's a door that's on the bridge that you always see people disappear into, but you never see what's in there. And it's always been accepted that it's the toilet. And I think this makes it canon. But yeah, the awesome thing about this is that it's canon and it's like it's for real. I love it. I just want everyone to know. I just want. Oh, she broke it.
Totally did break it.
She broke it. I just want everyone to know that I'm very, very happy. And if you have any questions, I will be going to the book to find confirmation.
I thought the books were not canon, says Link.
The fiction books aren't, and some of the non-fiction one, but this is an official one with a forward from Gene Roddenberry. So the vast majority are not canon, but that is canon. That is accepted. I'm happy. Okay, I'm so happy I have it. Man. We should go and do the show. Right, let's actually do the recording.
Okay. Real quick, I picked up the DS9 Nitpicker's Guide from Amazon
Nice.
Marketplace, so I have them all now. Woo!
Oh, that's awesome.
That's amazing. All right.
That's the best.
We are going to go ahead and officially start recording. You guys know the spiel. I've already said it, so I'm going to go ahead and just skip right through it. We are going to be doing our podcast recording now, so we can't react to your comments in the chat, but we can save them for later and sometimes pop them up on the screen. So enjoy the show, and let's go.
Okay. Welcome to 10 Forward, the part of the show where we grab a drink from the replicator and share our immediate thoughts and feelings on the episode we just watched together. Most important question first. What is your beverage of choice?
A beverage.
Just a beverage.
This time it's a
Computer?
beverage.
I will have one beverage, please.
Okay, I'll have the tears of a dead exocomp.
Oh.
Like probably it's a little oily.
Oh.
Maybe it probably tastes like Guinness, honestly.
Have you had Guinness?
I feel like never. I feel like Guinness must taste like oil. It looks very oily.
Guinness is shut your mouth. Guinness is beautiful. It is the nectar of the gods. It is so tasty.
When we were in Europe together and we went to restaurants. Actually, no, it wasn't even just Europe. When we were in the US, anytime there was a eating out, Ian, if he orders a Guinness, you can gauge his level of appreciation for the wait staff and their training on bartending based solely on the arrival of his Guinness cup.
Easily. Easily. It's such an easy way to tell the level of either training or giving a shit. And I totally understand anybody not giving a shit about working in the service industry because it sucks. But you're gonna get judged if you don't bring me a Guinness that is properly poured. It's not hard.
Okay. If it's not oily, then there is this drink from, I believe it's the Northeast, like in New England area in the US, called Moxie.
I know of this. Yeah, this is like Bovril, I think.
Taste like molassesy sort of black licorice oil. Okay, that's going to be ex-comp tiers. Glad we got there eventually. That's what I would have. What would you drink, Captain?
Well, I want to drink the tears shed at Data's funeral for his career. That's just a mix of different people's tears. Because his career is over and there would be a funeral for it.
Because he broke the rules.
Again. And took over the ship.
And yet he never is booted, is he?
No, never gets booted. Okay, this week with that, we are going to be reviewing season 6, episode 9 of Star Trek Next Generation, The Quality of Life. The mining facility that the Enterprise visits is experimenting with a new type of particle beam that raises mining materials up from the planet, but it is fraught with problems. And can a new type of technology help them meet their deadlines? Perhaps it can, but only if they prove that it is not alive, as Data seems to believe that these beings are sentient and should not be used as slave labor. And they especially should not be used to save his crewmates. Ambassador, general thoughts and feelings about this episode. Now, we're coming off the high of last week where you have watched your all-time favorite TNG episode that we've watched live together.
Yeah.
And jumping off of that, like the only way is down after that.
Yeah.
So I was a bit trepidatious because we have a much more thinky episode. But
How
what did you
far
think?
will I fall?
Indeed.
First of all, no, I'll just say it. I didn't fall very far. I loved it.
Yay!
Yeah. I really enjoyed this one. But halfway through, I remembered that we've had conversations about it because of our chat with Lower Decks.
Yes.
So I remembered, we've talked about this one. So I kind of had some of the framework in my mind. But I still really enjoyed it, even though I knew some of the big brushstrokes of this episode. But I'm surprised you didn't mention anything about the beard, the importance of the beard in this episode.
So the cold opens can sometimes like merge into different episodes. I totally there's no need for this one to be in this episode.
Which had nothing to do with anything.
To do with the story.
No,
there's no theme. There's no undercurrent. It's just Geordi has a beard.
Yeah, what was confusing for me is it seemed like there was maybe an attempt to do some sassiness with Dr. Crusher. Because she was a little bit sassy in this episode, and I'll when we get into the specifics of this one, I'll kind of point out the moments when I feel like she was sassy. But yeah, in this one, she somehow convinces every male at the table to shave their beards if she wins at poker. Which,
to be fair, she convinces Riker and Geordi.
That's true.
Worf is like, no. The cut to his face when Geordi agrees and his face just sinks. He's like, no, I don't agree to this. He just gets swept along.
But I will say, this is really weird. When I sat down to record, I hit record and then I connected with you. We watched the episode. I actually mentioned your beard completely out of the blue. Just because, when I sit down to record, I just start talking as soon as I start recording so that you have material to pull for the outtakes or whatever.
Listen after the show for that gold.
Well, you'll hear me talking about your beard. And then, imagine my shock that this episode starts centered on the beard. And I was like, what the fuck?
Amazing.
I should have predicted the beard.
That should have been your very oddly specific prediction, is that there would have been a conversation about beards. It would have blown my fucking mind. I would have lost
Nobody
it.
believes when this stuff happened. Yeah, no one would believe it.
No,
anyway, I really enjoyed the episode. I found it to be interesting and hit some really deep tones, and there was still some opportunity for humor. There was a lot of anger in this episode. This one really leaned into people being pissed. Yeah, which is kind of unique. What about you? How many times have you seen this episode, and do you still love it? Like it?
Yeah,
what do you think?
Yeah, I've seen this episode dozens and dozens of times. I think it's one that I come back to because I love the science in it. And I mean that from Data's point of view. I don't mean from what's her name? Dr. Farallon. She is a terrible scientist. But I love the experimenting that Data does. And he has a hypothesis, and then he keeps testing it and testing it and testing it and testing it and testing it. And a lot of science and experimenting is like an accidental discovery or tweaking the hypothesis or testing again and again and again and getting that information together. Now, unfortunately, he has 29 failures and then 1 success. So his parameters are a little bit squiffy, but I always loved going back to that as a kid and watching this episode and just watching the exocomps have so much character without saying a word. is a really neat trick of this episode, and I love watching them. I joked while we were watching the show, I would have a series of them being the A team and just going in and solving
Yeah.
problems, like no script, no nothing, just like wiggly ears and just
The little
flapping
antennae.
antennas. Yeah, just talking to each other, twitching about and communicating and then solving problems. I think it would get old, but I
Quickly.
always came back because I loved them. I love the design of the robot. I love the idea that Data is battling with what does it mean to be alive, and he's often fighting for his own place in the universe. To see him fight for someone else's, those episodes always get me. So yeah, I love this one.
Because we often see Data fighting for his crewmates, but not a potential new life form that's so similar to his own. And there was this really interesting moment when he was arguing with Riker. Well, I shouldn't say arguing. When Riker was screaming because he was mad,
right?
Rightfully so, because Data locked him out of out of the beaming system. What's it called? Transporter system? Yeah.
Transporter system. Yeah.
And Riker's like, you are going to be in big trouble. And Data's super calm. He's like, yeah, I know that. I already calculated that. And here's why, blah, blah, blah. There's this moment where, and this is one of the things I really love about this episode, the exploration of why, like you're talking about. He's run these scientific experiments. He's confident that there's something to pay attention to. And one of the things he says is that as humans, I watch you guys make decisions based on belief or instinct. And I don't relate to that because I don't have that, but I do have mechanical insight. And so he's seeing a pattern in the mechanical behavior of these robots that were created and are making intellectual decisions that preserve their life, which is one of the things that kind of kicks off the intensity of this particular episode. And he's like, this is something to pay attention to. And here's why. I think I understand that there's a system that they're doing that tells me that there's intelligence here in a way that's unexpected. And I like that he pushed the boundaries of that. And I really loved how this episode ends with the conversation with Picard, where Data goes into that uncomfortable moment of basically saying, I almost sacrificed you, Picard. And Picard's like, that's the most human thing you've done so far. I was just like, oh my God. This one's surprisingly emotional to me in some ways.
It really is. And one of the things that I love is how characters stay in their lanes. So we're at season 6, and I think if you'd have had this episode during season 2, a lot of the people could have been moved around. So maybe Riker would have been the more sympathetic one, Picard would have been more stern. But at this point, like, Riker is doing exactly what I expect Riker to do. He is offended, he's pissed off, he's like, cool, scientific discovery, well done. More importantly, we need to get Geordi and Picard out of there. And Picard is the moral high ground, and he's like, cool, no, perfectly fine with us dying in that case, because you did the right thing. I love how comfortable everyone is in season 6. I love it.
They also, like, the writers went into the definition of life. I really enjoyed the conversation that so Data is like seeking answers both with scientific experimentation and intellectual conversation. So he is this sort of curious being attempting to not only find his place in the world, but also solve a really important time constraint problem to protect potential life.
Yeah.
And when he's talking to Dr. Crusher, she gives her version of what life is. And this really beautiful conversation happens with about fire. He's like,
I love this.
Data says, what is the definition of life? And she says, life is what enables plants and animals to consume food for energy, grow, adapt, and reproduce. She said it way cooler. And he responds, like fire? And I was just like, what?
Oh, shit. Yeah, mind blown. I was exactly the same whenever I heard that. I was like, oh my God, technically, yeah, that's right. And yet Data is way more alive than fire. Like, what an interesting way to phrase that question.
She does go on to further define that that's a chemical reaction and then references growing crystal. But it's still a great way to take the average viewer and expand their thought process without it being technical Star Trek babble, which is also just all over this episode. This episode is like
all the techno babble.
Yeah, Ian got a new manual. He's eating it up because it's all the techno babble and all of like the reasons that the techno babble actually makes sense in the Star Trek universe. And why it
this
doesn't.
stuff, they threw some words at me and I was just like, oh, you never come back to this.
That's a word that means nothing.
Yep.
But they do the nice balance of, and for those of you at home that are thinking more in our way of thinking, like we're taught in our human schools, here's like fire. Is fire alive? Like I was like, oh, I understand this part.
I remember that description from school, and I'm like, yep, absolutely makes sense. Plants and beings reproduce, eat, and burn fuel and whatnot. And then mind blown. You have a fucking fire, dude.
What about
fire
that one?
alive? Did you realize that? Open your mind, my friend.
It was a great episode for almost every reason, because there's also the uncomfortable conflicts that are happening amongst people, and it's not just this new doctor character who has created the exocomps. There's interpersonal conflict as well. To me, it's a little bit sinful, but it's still interesting to see, like even Geordi sort of rolling his eyes when the doctor the new exocomp doctor comes on board and is talking with Data, and they're having this passionate conversation, and Geordi looks like he's just like, whatever, guys. And, like,
this is old news.
You're his friend. You should be excited to see,
Data
getting to... It
does feel weird.
It does, but there's just this conflict that's throughout this entire episode, and there's this tension that's in almost every scene. And I think that it's the writers playing with how to make us feel tension rather than just, I don't know, at ease.
Like tension and urgency. It adds like an extra dynamic instead of just her being a fan person and geeking out. How did you feel about Dr. Farallon overall? Because she goes on like a journey from under pressure to geeking out about Data to hating Data to being ruthless and then coming back round full circle to super duper chill. Like she goes on a journey.
I loved her. I loved
amazing.
her. Yeah. I always enjoy seeing interesting prosthetics. There's a lot of prosthetics that are on forehead because there's a lot of space there to play with.
And it's a nice flat surface as well on the bridge of the nose.
And I've said this before, I don't mean to be repetitive, but there is something about a strong female that's unapologetic that they stand out. And I think if I had seen this episode when I was younger, I might have been thinking the baseline reactions of, oh, she's mean, I don't like her. But now that I'm older and a career woman, there is just such a relief that I feel when there is an example of an unapologetically strong individual. In fact, she's very much like Riker. So if you're comfortable with Riker being very bold and in your face and confident and direct, but you're not comfortable with her, I would ask you what the difference is. And maybe, maybe there isn't really a difference. Maybe there is. We could talk about it. But I really enjoyed her. She made me uncomfortable. She made me frustrated. She made me excited. And I related to her. And so I really, really enjoyed that character, especially because at the end, I mean, even there's this moment when she snaps off, I think, at Geordi. And
then apologizes.
Yeah, she apologizes. Yeah. I've done that so many times with you guys that I work with because I am incredibly passionate. I wasn't supposed
to agree with that so quickly.
Why not?
Yeah,
it's
every
true.
day.
It's true. But that's the thing is, I kind of feel like I finally found a place with my team right now that I can be really bold and really direct. And if I'm wrong, I can immediately say, sorry, I'm just experiencing it. And everyone's just like, cool, no, we get it. And we move on. There's not this stop down to pander to womanly emotions, which is something that you see so much in content.
Sucks.
It is so so much everywhere, especially growing up, but it's still there a little bit, or a lot, depending on what you're watching. And I think that it's just nice to see this particular approach to a very strong female. So yeah, I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I love her determination. You can't help but feel sorry for her because we've all worked on those projects that are just mined from the outset. Like before you even conceive them, they are doomed to have every single roadblock conceivable. And she just can't catch a break. And it sucks because the exocomp, she can't predict that. And that's another roadblock. And it's like she can't help but be painted as the bad guy because she has to push her project, she has to meet her deadlines. And now this very justifiable problem is in her way. And who do you get mad at? You get mad at the person that found the problem, even though it's not their fault. You've got to put that anger somewhere. So I was always super duper sympathetic towards her.
I was too.
The only thing that always stood out at me, and when I said she's a bad scientist earlier, it's this one line that says that when she's talking to Geordie and she says, "I will do whatever it takes to prove that this experiment works." I was like, that's not how experiments work. That's not science. If the particle beam doesn't work, it doesn't work. No amount of determination is going to prevent that. If it's fundamentally flawed and it doesn't work, it doesn't matter how hard you try or how many hours you put in, it ain't going to work. And scientists have to be open to that. And if you're so dogged and so blinded to this is going to work because I want it to work, it's unfair to everybody that's working on the project. It's unfair to other technology that isn't getting the same attention because it's lacking that one charismatic person at the top. So that's where that leadership thing is great, and it's really, really cool for getting shit done. But it's really, really bad at identifying whether that shit needs to be done.
Yeah, a personality like hers, which was sort of touched on when she was talking with Geordie in 10 Forward. They're sitting at a table and he says something like, "I bet you're the kind of person that gets what you want," or "If there was a tree, you would climb to the top." And she says, "Yeah, that's me." And he says, "And I bet you never ran into any problems either." And she's like, "No, I ran into problems all the time. I fall and break my bones.
I
The
love
difference,
that.
I just get up and keep going." Her personality seems to be that if she perceives a barrier, she just pushes through it, which is a type of a personality that's needed in a lot of cases, but it also needs someone to temper that a little. And this episode balanced her well with having authority, because she butted up against authority many times. And like you said, rightfully so, there's some parts of her personality that need to be worked on. But that type of a flawed character is nice to see too. She's not perfect,
totally.
in that way.
Yeah.
And they really kind of went places. I don't know if they intended to. There's been many episodes of Star Trek so far that I've interpreted differently. Sex Scandal, for example.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. I was like, no, we just wanted to make a sex episode.
Yeah.
Sex
I love how I'm
ghost.
like, oh my God, they're really pushing against the boundaries of like abuse and all this. And you're like, no. I've read some interviews and that was definitely not their intention.
Oh man. This has happened when working on a CinemaSin script as well. Someone in the YouTube comments has said, "Man, that was really profound," and it harks back to like this essay or something that somebody wrote. And I was like, no, I was just making a dick joke. Sorry. I hate to undermine that you thought it was such a great idea. My bad.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
There's one little back and forth conversation that I love that's super, super simple, and it's something I always identify with TNG. And it's when we first get introduced to the exocomps with Dr. Her name will not stay in my head, Farallon. Keep thinking
Farallon?
Faraday. Dr. Farallon. And she goes to Picard and just asks for more time. And he's like, "Well, I'm going to need a good reason." And you're almost expecting this conflict, and she's going to have to go behind their backs or something. But she states her case, has some evidence, and Picard says, "Sweet, yeah, we'll postpone for 2 days, and this seems worth it." There is no conflict in that conversation. Like they say that writing and TV shows are all about conflict. That's just a conversation between adults that's respectful. And it's nice, and it sounds so dumb to call it nice, but this is why I live in TNG, because I feel like it's the later seasons in particular, where they still sprinkle conflict in, is more realistic as to how life on a starship would actually be. Not utopia, but not depressing like Deep Space Nine as well. I just love that. It gives me fuel for like living on that ship. I
It
love it.
also amplifies the importance of the experiment and talking about your reasoning and then it being something that's approved. So in that case, she gives her scientific reasoning and then it's approved. So it kind of gives validity to what Data is doing too. And they even go into that, like, you know what? Okay, if you think this, let's test your hypothesis. So it's a very scientific episode and it really supports that type of community. When Dr. Farallon shows up in the debriefing room, so Data has said these are living creatures. We can't use them for this mining experiment any longer. And Dr. Farallon is looking at her work just being sunk down the tubes, and she's like, no, this isn't going to happen, guys. And she goes in fighting. You know, she shows up at the table and she's like, we're not doing this. These are not living creatures. And they all kind of sit around and come to this conclusion that they need to re-experiment. And it's just like watching TNG is like watching very intelligent, at the top of their game professionals navigate the discomfort of disagreement and giving us a visual example and an example of how you can communicate well.
Yeah.
And I think that's maybe one of the reasons that I like it too, is yes, even though it's weird to say it's nice, it's just, it works. Whether it's fantasy or not, I don't think it is, because I'm kind of experiencing that in my life now where I get to have these kinds of conversations. As creative people at CinemaSins, we don't agree on every single script. We don't agree on every single sin. We have to come to the table sometimes, not even just in writing, but in general, with ideas or, you know, like planning things that we're excited about or little miniature projects here and there. We have a lot of passionate creative people that come to the table and we don't all agree. So giving us examples of this as people of how you can communicate at the top of your game, it's just it's a relief, honestly.
Yeah. I love it. It feels realistic. It feels
It does.
relatable. It doesn't feel contrived. I love it so much.
It feels realistic now that I'm experiencing it. I think maybe earlier in life I'd be like, there's nothing like this, because I was in retail or something, you know? It's like,
oh, 100%. Yeah.
Working at Expedia, you know, in a call center,
Yeah.
I'm like, this isn't real life. Nobody cares, you know?
Just do as you're told. No one gets a say. No one actually debates anything. It's just do as you're told. Yeah.
Speaking of relief, one of my favorite moments of this episode is at the very beginning. Like we said, Dr. Crusher bets that if she wins, all beards are shaved. Worf doesn't agree to that, which is definitely something that we could talk about in the sin section briefly.
He's not wearing his baldric.
What?
He isn't wearing his baldric.
Well, we'll talk about that in the sin section.
Sorry. Okay.
It's okay. It's fine. And the moment that they're interrupted to come to the, like, for some kind of communication, they're all like, hey, come to the bridge. Or I don't even remember what they're called, but they're called away from the poker table. The relief on Worf's face was so funny to me, because he was just like, it's like he was waiting with bated breath for that moment where he is officially called away. Like, this is it. This could be whenever I'm saved. And then he's just like, yep, we're leaving now. And I love that part.
What's
that was
beautiful
really
about having Worf there is that throughout all of TNG, he is the worst poker player. Like, he is there because it's like a social expectation. He never, ever wins. He usually folds or just places the wrong bet. So Geordi and Riker are making this bet, and he's like, I have no power in this situation. I can't agree. I can't disagree. I can't even play to win because I know I'm terrible at this stupid fucking game because I can't stab anyone. So like, he is so powerless, and it's a beautiful position to put Worf in.
It is. It really is. Anything else that we want to cover of things that we loved? I loved you've already mentioned it, but the exocomp was so cute. I don't know why.
Isn't it? It's the wiggly. It's
I don't
round.
know why.
It's got the little feet that it doesn't use because it hovers. So why does it need feet? And then it has like the little antenna and the little waggly ears.
It might need little feet for some of its stuff, like if it's on the ground,
around.
you know.
It's so expressionful because when it's doing the experiment with Data and it's figuring it out, when we first see it, it's at the panel. It it's doing its zappy thing. When the timer runs out, it comes out, turns around, hovers a little bit, you can see it making a decision somehow, and
Yeah.
then it goes back in. It's like, oh, this is some bullshit. I'm gonna go back in and carry on
Yeah.
with my job.
Yeah.
It's so great. I did have a question with the exocomps. You were introduced, probably one of the few people to be maybe not one of the few, who knows, but one of the people that's introduced to the exocomps through Lower Decks first,
Yeah.
Peanut Hamper. How cool was it
Peanut
to
Hamper.
have like the animated version of Peanut Hamper in your mind, and then see the far more serious, real exocomps of TNG in all their 90s glory?
I am both. It was both like, this is cool, and oh no.
Oh no.
Because I know what happens with Peanut Hamper.
Yeah. It gets
And
really sordid.
It's not great. And it's like it's still a lingering TBD situation, because we haven't seen the resolution of what occurs with Peanut Hamper and the prison of exocomps that we, because we saw a lot of locked up exocomps, and so it's kind of like, oh
wait,
my God,
where?
they're so cute, and then at the very end of the season,
Oh
spoiler
no!
alert.
They're not all exocomps. That's just an AI prison for general different types of AIs that have gone rogue. Because it's such a common theme in Star Trek. There's loads from the original series. They now have a facility where they're all locked away, so they aren't all exocomps.
Okay, all right. Well, in my imagination, that's what I thought that they were. I need to go back and probably watch that again, or just that scene of seeing kind
war of exocomps,
because it was essentially just like cell upon cell upon cell in like a circular
all
ring,
different computers,
just
not
all these different
exocomps.
computers.
Yeah,
I bet Moriarty's in there.
I hope so. I bet
Wouldn't
he
that
is.
be fucking cool?
It would be fucking awesome. I bet that's where they store it.
Probably not, since we now know spoiler alert is in an upcoming spoiler alert.
Good. You did all the editing there for me. I love it.
You're welcome.
So were they like kind of how you expected them to look? Or, because Lower Decks has to simplify everything. Was it a bit distracting about how
I loved
90s and hovery they were? I had a feeling you would love them.
So I saw it, and immediately I was like, I want one. And why?
Yeah, so
but I immediately like a little, you know how you have your ships displayed? I sort of want to have like a little Peanut Hamper, but not Peanut Hamper. I want this exocomp.
Yes, you
right?
want a little
OG.
Desco comp that will sit on your desk.
But I need it to come apart. So have you ever been to the doctor's office and they have on their shelf the anatomy of whatever body part their profession is? So like if you go into like the optometrist, then they have like the eye, and you can begin to dissect it. You can take off the lens and take off this and see the optic nerve and blah blah blah. Or you can like, I want one, right? Okay, I want a little guy that I can take the top off and then start to remove all the little pieces on the inside.
So like
and
the
put it back
micro
together.
machines that you would open up, and like, oh man, that would be like a little Polly Pocket. Do you have Polly Pocket in America?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, so it's like you open up the living room and you have like the little kitchen and whatever. Yeah, but with an exocomp.
Yeah.
It's just Data holding up a sign saying, "Shut the door."
This is private.
Yes, this is my space.
But to me, I want to put things inside of it. What if it's like a little jewelry box, but it's disguised as this sort of interactive exocomp? I loved it. I loved all the little lights that were on it, and just thinking about the people who made all of the things for the set and how they constructed them and what materials did they use. I get really curious about that, and I'm not sure how much of these items survived into 2023.
I almost don't want to Google it, because back then they binned a lot of it. They were just like, recycle that exocomp is probably a like control panel on an alien ship somewhere else. But yeah, I can't imagine they'd be too hard to 3D print. There's got to be like the schematics out there for it at some point.
I'm sure somebody has done that, but I immediately I want to have it because it's just adorable. So yes, I loved it. I love the aesthetic of it. I also recognized, I feel maybe on Lower Decks did they go to another mining thing? That was on one of them where they were on a big mining facility that had like a beam tractor going down. That was the one where she like
Hmm.
base jumps down and they all switch
mining the
spots.
mines.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah,
interesting
it
to
may
see
well
that
be.
perhaps this mining thing ended up working somehow. Like
Oh, I have no doubt.
we're
Yeah,
seeing it not work in this one. So that was
yeah.
also just sort of an interesting kind of like, I recognize this sort of, because they base jump down with her and McStutterson, uh, because they switched gears
Ransom.
where they were supposed to be the ones doing the down at the pleasure place, because they almost
Yeah,
got
and it's
thrown
just her and
into the
Ransom.
volcano.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
On that one, I'm pretty sure it was
I
a
love that
mining
episode.
establishment. Yeah.
You might be right. I mean, Lower Decks is great for orienting itself in the universe with stuff like that and picking up perhaps forgotten threads. So I'll have to rewatch that and have a look. But
So it is
it
fun
would not
because
surprise me.
I'm watching TNG, but I'm recognizing things from from Lower Decks.
That's not how it works.
It is, and it's working.
And I love it because it is. It absolutely is how it works. I absolutely love it. That's amazing.
Yeah. I thought this was clever. I also, on the exocomp thing, I liked how they revealed that these exocomps were potentially alive. The idea that they shut down a system and then they repaired themselves. It was just a very clever way of introducing
really
an
clever.
AI life form. Yeah.
Yeah, multi-layered, and it's even the fact that it didn't fail the test. It saw through it. And it's like, oh, your computer seems to think that there's an energy beam going through here, but it's incorrect. Let me fix that for you. It's like, you son of a bitch. You saw my problem. Like, if it hadn't seen the problem, that might have been proof that it wasn't alive because it's just following input. So it's just amazing writing. Really, really clever.
Because they're kind of asking us to expand our imagination as they haven't defined it for us in the episode, which is oftentimes what happens is they'll leave up the mystery and then they'll tell you, here's what's actually happening according to the writer's perspective. But they do this interesting thing in this episode where they're like, how powerful are the X-comps? For example, when Data shuts down the ability for them to transport, to do the transporter beam.
Oh, yes.
For a split second, I'm like, are these things powerful enough to take over the transporter beam?
Oh, shit.
You know, and it kind of give us that moment of mystery where we're trying to figure out how these beings are or are not. So just really clever writing.
Yeah,
really clever writing.
Really clever. Man, it's so fucked up that Data can do that. Anyway, that's in the sins. One of my other thoughts was I wish that more episodes would tie other characters in the way that they tie Beverly in. So this doesn't feel forced. Like, Beverly's invested in this. Like, it makes sense that Data would go to Beverly about the definition of life because he needs more information. If he's going to make an assessment as to whether the exocomps are alive and whether he is alive, he needs a definition, and a biological definition is one way that he can go. So she's invested in what he's talking about. So the fact that she turns up at the experiment halfway through the episode as well, it's a great way to use her instead of lumping all of that onto Geordi or having Worf randomly there. It wouldn't make sense if Worf was there. And some episodes don't do this so well. Like, suddenly Deanna will show up because she has some knowledge of something that she definitely doesn't have any knowledge of. But no, I wish more episodes did with Beverly what they did in this one. I love her in this.
Yes, I loved Beverly in this too. She was incredibly sassy. And I want to point out that she might not have the Riker lean, but she has the foot up in chair, elbow on knee lean going on. It's a very power pose.
Super casual.
It's exposing. It's a different. It's not the man spread. It's the woman spread. You know.
The woman spread.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Mm-hmm. That's her office. She can spread it wherever she wants.
She also fought Worf in this one.
Okay, that didn't make any sense. Like,
she is on fire this episode.
It's one of my sins, but it doesn't make any sense. It's like they needed a reason for her to be in sickbay, and it's like, she's the fucking doctor. She should be in sickbay. Like, I don't know if they wanted a reason for her to be in a robe, and like she's super duper casual, but there is no reason for the beard conversation or for the back left conversation. Like, it's such a strange choice, but there we go. There's one other like little line that I liked, and it was Data. We kind of covered this, but it's Data wrestling with, at what point did I stop being a selection of metal and then start being alive? like it blows my mind when I think about it, because it's true. It's like he was just a ton of pieces, and we're just like a ton of biological material, but somehow we're aware. And what we can do with that awareness is this. And it's something that birds and cats and dogs can't do, but because we have self-awareness, we can. It's one of the most important questions, and yeah, the show handles it really, really well. I love it.
Well, is there anything else that you want to cover, or shall we skip on through the sins as fast as we possibly can?
Well, I have one question for you. Are beards a fashion statement, or are they... I don't know what the other alternative was. Are they a fashion statement?
They
Are they
said
just
that they would
something that I
be
want?
an affectation, I believe, in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Which, for those of you that don't know what affectation means, I didn't have to look it up or anything. So, an affectation means a something something. It's a behavior, speech, or writing that is artificial and designed to impress. I don't think beards are artificial, and I don't think that they're defined to impress. I think they're just a preference that someone has to. You have an option for a beard, so like, why not go for it?
Yeah. An affectation would be like if I had a pipe that was never lit and I just chew on it. I never use it just because I think it looks fucking cool to have a pipe.
Right? Or you like to wear glasses, but you don't actually need to wear glasses, that kind of thing. You just like, you have it because you enjoy wearing it, like that kind of thing?
Yeah, kind of. But I even... that seems a little bit different to me, because you might just like how you look with... That's not for anyone else. That might just make you feel better. And for me personally, I just like having the beard. I think I prefer how I look with the beard. I like having something to touch. I shouldn't touch it because germs, but I just enjoy it. It's not really for anyone else other than me.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. I don't understand that. So can that be our transition into the sins?
Let's do it. Okay, everybody. Beardy stations, everyone. That was a stretch.
Beardy stations?
Beardy stations? Okay, with that, it's the wrong intro. This is the part of the show where we re-engage our sin brains and remind ourselves that no TV show is without sin. Even our beloved Star Trek.
I think the entire start of this one is probably sinful to some degree. It would take me a great deal of stretching to try to understand why Beverly's question about the beards and questioning their beards and how it relates to makeup and fingernail polish might somehow relate to the rest of the episode entirely. This isn't even an attempt at an A plot, B plot. This is just some sort of random throwaway scene that maybe didn't belong on this one at all. And maybe they do this more often than I realize. Maybe they don't usually relate to it. Maybe it always is this sort of just a random pulled out scene from their everyday lives that has nothing to do with anything, and that's the purpose of it. But I've never noticed it, the disjointedness of it, so much more than this episode. This one's just like a glaring, like, what the fuck was that scene about?
Why are we doing this? I think somebody thought the scene was fun and wanted to do it. LeVar Burton wanted to grow a beard for some reason. Well, not for some reason, but they wanted to incorporate that into the film. There's one other time where he tries to grow a beard and they work it into the script as well. It's almost like people just couldn't change how they looked. Because this would go into syndication, you needed an explanation for why that person had a beard. So Riker got away with it because it's from season 2 onwards, all of it. It's just season 1. But Geordie having a beard in 2 episodes is like, oh, this is strange. Where are we? What are we doing? Like, I always think about that. Now, maybe it's a tap into humanity and because we're sentient and self-aware, the things we worry about are whether we have a beard or not. Whereas the exocomps, the stuff they're worrying about is, are they life forms? And it's an evolution to the very start of life to where we are now. No.
I think you're right.
That's the biggest one.
Geordie has a beard. People are wondering why. But this is the weird thing to me. Why do we care? Why does Beverly saying, I've been suspicious of men with beards.
Yeah.
Like, that makes no sense at all. And then she hears about how, like, for Klingons, it's like this ancient, proud tradition. strength thing, and she's like, well, I can't do it, so does that mean I'm not strong? And I'm just like, what the absolute fuck? Why is she so cheeky? Like,
Well,
this
no,
is
but,
just so strange.
I kind of understood because Riker says it's a sign of strength, and he specifically says strength. And Beverly's
Yeah.
response is, "Oh, and of course, women can't grow one."
Yeah.
As like it's another way of the patriarchy kind of dominating women. Like, hey, I am man because I grow beard, and I don't know if that's like a holdover from. I mean, we're looking at a show in the early '90s that wasn't where the kind of the complicated stuff that we're addressing now wasn't as much in the public consciousness. It was there, but media wasn't dealing with it so much,
Okay.
or at all. So I think it's just one of those boundaries that TNG wasn't quite ready to push.
Interesting.
But it's an interesting conversation. Yeah.
Well, we already mentioned it too, just real briefly. Another sin. We don't have to talk about it, but the other sin is that Worf didn't have a chance to say no. I don't want to shave my beard.
Yeah. It's like,
So
no, I'm
stupid.
not in this bit. And it always bugged me, the brunette thing. Riker being like, "Oh, I've always wanted to see you as a brunette." I'm like, "Fuck you, dude! Like, stop being such a horn dog." Like, I don't know if that was meant to be horny, but it definitely feels horny. I have a pretty fundamental question. I want to know how many exocomps have been murdered.
A lot.
Because when they first
maybe.
discover the extra circuitry, she's like, "Yeah, this happens. Sometimes they grow
happens.
extra pathways. I wipe them." Like, she has murdered so many of these little buddies, and is that gonna like weigh on her conscience? Like, they weren't malfunctioning; they were evolving, and you just wiped them off the planet. Like, that's a thing that is never addressed.
Yep. Very sinful.
I love it.
I would say there's this moment between Dr. Farallon and Geordi.
Mm-hmm.
At the very beginning, he's like hot on her heels, like, we got to get this working or it's not going to do this. And she's like, I know. They're just kind of like arguing a lot back and forth. And something happens and they send the exocomp to save the day. And she says, I'm going to send this exocomp down this tube to fix this problem. If it doesn't fix the problem, we still have time to get out. Like, we still have time, so we're going to do this. Then he says to her, after it goes down the tube, he sends his information to the Enterprise. Yep, we're doing something here. And then he says to Dr. Farallon, if this thing doesn't work soon, we'll have to shut it down, all right? And I'm just like, she just said that. She fucking just said that. How many times in my fucking life am I going to watch a woman? Sorry, I'm going to take it a little bit more of a sexist thing.
Do it.
To watch a fucking woman have a plan and then nobody listens to it. And then it comes out of the mouth of another fucking person. And then everyone's like, oh, that's a great idea. Okay, I'm having personal flashbacks. This happens to me all the time. And it's just like, I've learned over time, whether you believe it or not, based on my passion, to let it go. But it still builds up. And it still just like packs in there. And then you see it happening on TV and you're just like, fuck you, Geordi. And I'm like, oh my God, I just said fuck you, Geordi in my soul. And I love Geordi, but fuck you, Geordi. She just said that. Sorry, that was my sin.
No, I get it. Geordi's very forceful in this episode. Like, I get that he's there and she's a feisty character that he always has to temper, but it's like, it's not your job to temper that. But he is also doing his job. He
said the exact same thing. There's no reason. He should say, confirmed, doctor. Great fucking plan. Let's goddamn go. That's what he should say.
I agree. You're right. Geordi is a bastard. He should not be on the show. While we're on that kind of area of the episode, nowhere near as profound, but we have a classic explosion on a metal room here that creates rocks and rubble. Like, there is just a ton of rocks that get fired out of that tube. It's like, where the fuck are the rocks coming from? This happens so much on the bridge of the Enterprise. It's like, yes, dirt and rubble. It would be metal.
It would be metal. Possibly a chemical reaction of fire and crystals.
Exactly.
Just for
possibly Geordi has been pushed in front of the explosion for repeating something that's already been said by an equally capable officer.
I would sin the moment where Data has said, I think these exocomps are alive. They go to recreate this experiment. They send the exocomp down the tube. within this framework that they've, decided that they're going to put it in danger and see if it shuts down. But they give Dr. Farallon the ability to program it. And I just feel like she has shown enough of her own. She has her own issues. Biases, thank you.
Yeah.
That somebody else should probably be pushing the buttons on the exocomp just to make sure that there's a completely neutral party that doesn't have any, like you said, biases about the outcome of this. She's very clearly at this point been like, these are robots. They don't mean anything. So why are we giving her any amount of power in this experiment? I think that's a sin.
Yep, totally agree. It should have been somebody impartial. It definitely should have been Data. Like, you can trust Data to... It's in his best interest for the exocomps, to be honest, in this situation. So yeah, totally agree with that. This is a really, really nitpicky one that I don't know if it would make it into the script, were we to write a script on this. But in the lab, the mining facility, there's this huge perspex screen, and we see it in the shot quite a lot. Geordi will walk past it, the Doctor will walk past it. That screen has the schematic of the Enterprises or the Galaxy class warp core on it. And the reason I know that is because it's used in a different episode where they're trying to work out. They basically have to pull apart the Enterprise to work out how they can get it through this meteor field without setting off a load of explosions. And he gets all over this schematic to work out how the warp core can be reconfigured. And I'm like, you just moved that prop and used it on this station. Now, yes, this station might have a warp core to power it, but it fucking doesn't, does it? You just reuse the prop, and there's no reason for a warp core schematic to be on there. They didn't even change it. So yeah,
maybe that's their inspiration. Yeah. This one also might not be a sin. I'd have to ask you for your expertise. Oh, Ian Captain. When the mining station is faulty and starting to fail not the first time, but the second time, and it's so bad that they're going to have to abandon ship, essentially, or abandon station. Instructions are given to assemble on the transporter pad. And my question is, but I thought we don't need to do that. Is it that the transporter pad amplifies transportation, and so it's easier to go to the pad? Because I've seen them beam everywhere. So why do they have to go to the pad? I'm just curious. Is that a sin?
I hate it when this question comes up because I can never answer it.
Oh, okay.
I don't. My internal headcanon, and it doesn't make sense in this situation, it's that it's more efficient and it takes less power. And I think this is right when you go pad to pad.
Right. That makes sense. That's how I would design it if I was going to design something made up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
It's like, it has to, because you don't need a receiving pad when you're going down to the planet.
No.
So my headcanon is that takes a lot of energy. So when you have the option to just go pad to pad, then that is
maybe
more
it
stable.
Keeps your form a little bit longer, maybe?
No, but I don't want that to be an option. I don't want that to be in question. I don't want my form to ever be in question. I want that to be solid. But I'm guessing it takes more energy to not do it on a pad, because it's like, emergency transport to the bridge.
So we would have to frame that sin very carefully because we lack some specific knowledge, but I think it's a sin.
But the way I would go is that this is a fucking emergency. Beam them out. So maybe because of the ion displacement bullshit, they can't. But then at the end of the episode, Picard and Geordi just get beamed out. They don't go to the pad.
They don't go to the pad. And also, I think that what I would want to do, because we watch this episode without pausing, and when we sin things, obviously we pause and have time to think about it, and we go back and we look at things, and I zoom in and I kind of like really get nitpicky or whatever. And in this case, we're just watching it once through. When that scene starts, Geordi's like, I've just got everybody here. And I think you can glance around the room and maybe there's quite a few people that are on the station. But then whenever the emergency happens, it's like 6 people leave. So I don't know. I would definitely pay attention to how many people are on and how many people are beamed to see if there's a discrepancy there.
I mean, I've got a great sin that ties straight into that. Transporters should never be your only fucking option. Like, there should be escape pads. There should be a escape pod, sorry. There should be a fleet of like little shuttlecrafts or something. There should be another way to get off this thing that isn't based on the transporters. Now, obviously, you can't do that because it breaks the episode. But it's, convenient exit is very inconvenient for convenient reasons.
I I do have another one. Do you have any more? I think
Yeah,
one,
no,
maybe two more.
I've got a few more.
Okay, go on.
Oh, is it me? Right, okay. And this is a kind of an odd question as well. Is it unethical to experiment on the exocomp to prove that it's alive if it's alive? Like, this is fine if it ends up not being alive because it's a spanner. You can do whatever you want with it. But if it's alive and you're sending it into a situation that it thinks is dangerous, that's going to be traumatizing for the poor exocomp. So you're subjecting it to an experiment without its consent to prove that it's alive and therefore should have needed to give consent. So it's like a bit of circular reasoning to get there. But Data should be he's when they suggest, well, let's just put it at risk again and see if it saves its life. And Data's just like, yeah, let's go. He should have like a couple of questions of, let's not actually put it in danger.
Yeah, just maybe something about reasoning or something could have worked. I also found it really interesting that like when they went to go program the exocomps to go to the station, I was really curious, how do you put into that algorithm, that technical algorithm, that they have choice? Because they kind of like brush over 100%. That quickly.
Yes.
But the algorithm for choice must be really, really interesting. I guess technically Data has it himself, so maybe he has a way of just kind of knowing how to program that into
well, they also don't know how
options.
to make another Data. So even Data can't rebuild himself. But no, that was one of my next sins as well, was do they know what they're agreeing to? Do they know that they're agreeing to a risky... I mean, they must do because they reprogram it. So they're just like, fuck that plan. We're not going to do that. We have this better plan. But how did you explain to them that, yeah, you can say no to this? Because a machine would just be like, I'm saying no.
No.
The answer is no, I'm not doing that.
They were problem solvers, so they're like designed to problem solve. Yeah. I really could just sit in this episode and think about it so much more. It's really
so great. I mean, there's a big thing that we didn't talk about that I forgot to mention, and it is the beauty of at what does every tool have the potential to then stop being a tool and start being conscious, because holograms are another great example of this. Now that you know that you can make a hologram sentient, and every hologram has the potential to be sentient, what are the ethics of using holograms? Like, you're deliberately keeping them stupid so that you can use them for what you want. And it's the same with the exocomps. Would it be ethical to prevent them from evolving, to keep them as tools? When left to their own devices, they would evolve. Like,
and they are evolving.
Where do you draw the line?
Crazy fast. They showed us the schematics of it. It's like 600 times they're developing their own stuff. It's like, well, maybe okay, so we have a few that are alive. Let's not keep doing that.
It's wild how we keep accidentally creating AI in Star Trek as well. It happens statistically an unlikely amount of times.
One of the sins I would absolutely be confident in, I'm not actually confident in anything that I say on the show, by the way.
Nope.
There's this moment where Picard and Geordi are dramatically trapped on the station, and it's going to be flooded with the stuff that's going to kill them, and they're trying to come up with solutions, and Data's essentially saying, we've got about 22 minutes, and they're going through their options. Nope. And somebody throws out, I think it's Dr. Farallon throws out, can we send a shuttle? No. Someone else says, can we send a shuttle? And she says, it wouldn't get there in time. But I just learned last episode that they're warp capable, so fuck you. They could get there in time. And also, why wouldn't the ship be able to get anywhere in time?
The Enterprise can get there in time.
You can look out the fucking window.
That's a dumb one.
There.
Yeah. That's not even addressing why they didn't use shuttles to evacuate people. Like, this thing has been twitchy as fuck. All of the shuttles should have been like just on demand, just waiting there. Yeah, no, I totally agree. Sometimes they just yada things, and we'll just.
But that one was really angering. That one's like, the only thing we can do is end this episode where the exocomps save the day on their own to bring a bow about. And
need the moral dimension.
I'm fine with that, but just don't mention shuttles at all. Don't tell me that they're there and not an option when I know that they are an option, because I learned it last time on this very show.
The Type 2 shuttles are warp capable. Yeah, so we've got Data being needlessly dramatic because he's in a TV show on two different occasions here. So when he's convinced that the exocomps are alive and it solved his experiment, he goes straight to the mining thing, goes straight to Geordie and the doctor and says, I cannot allow you to use the exocomps anymore. They are alive. We must stop.
Dun, dun,
It
dun!
is so, yeah, exactly. Roll credits, get to the commercials, zoom in on Data. It's like, it's so unprofessional. It's like, pull her to one side, talk to Picard first, talk to Geordie first. Don't just swan in there and be like, stop in the
Hey.
name of life.
This is his
so
first
over the
time to
top.
feel parental, okay?
It's not.
That's
but
not. No, it's not. He's got a cat.
But it's so dramatic, and like, I'm not surprised there's conflict and she's pissed off because he just swoops in with the
Yeah.
meaning of life and says, fuck you, I'm taking your tools.
Mm-hmm.
There's other ways to approach that. And the second time is it's when they take over, when he takes over the transporters. Because considering they're on a fucking time limit here, Riker and Worf are fumbling over the control panels and just like, the transporters are offline. What's going on here? Data buries the lead so hard and lets them fumble about and then waits for the camera to zoom in and says, that would not be necessary, sir. I have locked out the transporters. Like, as soon as he does it, he should tell them so that they can get on with it, because the clock is ticking here. He should say, Commander, no bells, no whistles. I'm sorry. You're not going to do this. Here's why I've locked you out. It's like,
I don't know. Maybe he
you
was
didn't
still
need to be
running
that
his,
dramatic.
Maybe he was running his own personal diagnostic for the pros and cons.
Yeah,
Took a moment.
may well be. But other than that, Data surviving this is the other biggest one. His career should be in shambles. He still disobeyed a direct order. He still is in big fucking doo-doo for this. But we'll forget about that and move on.
That'd be the sin. Data's in big fucking doo-doo.
And yet he isn't.
I think the only thing that I have one sin, but I think I'm going to use it for my quote for the end of the show. So I'm going to,
okay,
because I think that it's wrong.
And you think I won't correct your end of episode quote?
It could. I have two. So
okay, you have a backup?
Yeah,
Nice.
I have a backup. And then if it doesn't, if my potentially wrong, if my potentially sinful quote ends up working, then I'll tell you my other quote in the outtakes after the show.
Amazing. Okay. Well, thank you for listening, everybody. Next week, your homework. Oof, we are still continuing our Data character study with one of the best TNG episodes, one of the like absolute classics, The Measure of a Man. This is a huge seminal episode of not just TNG, of like pop culture as well. It's so cool. It's an excellent episode. Cannot wait to watch it with the Ambassador. It'll be a similar type of discussion to what we had this week as well. Maybe I should have done this one first, but I don't care. It's my ship, and I'll say whatever course I fucking want. But yeah, next week's episode is The Measure of a Man. With that, thank you for listening, everybody. My beard is hiding nothing but a chin.
And there is a big difference between you and a virus, but both are alive. And I don't know if that's true or not.
Viruses aren't alive, technically.
All right. Well, then I have another one ready to go. My favorite quote, I think, one of my favorite quotes was, the struggle for the answer is important. It helps us to define our place in the universe, from me.
Fuck yeah, it does. And live long and prosper. Oh, guys, that was so much fun. Your like internal discussions and debates.
I
in
love
the
them
chat
so much.
were so much fun. It's so hard to not like. So I have read every single comment. I love it. I love the debates you were having. I love how heated and yet respectful it got. I love it. Yes, please, no spoilers for next week's episode. It is an absolute corker that it nearly brings a tear to my eye. It's so
are you gonna
good.
cry next episode?
No, I won't, because I've seen it 1,000 times. But you might.
Please don't cry. Look at this dog's head upside
Look
down.
at it.
Twix.
Look at this dog. You're an absolute mess. Look at him.
Okay, so we're going to go back through your comments and kind of just pull a few to talk. But we're not going to talk about as many, I think, today as we normally do, because I actually have to go to a meeting pretty quick.
Oh, damn. When's your meeting? What time?
It started 17 minutes ago. So,
oh, no.
but that's okay because I told them I was going to be a little bit late, and so they're thankfully waiting on me because everything kind of got pushed back today. So don't want
Nice.
anybody feeling kind of some kind of way. But you can go ahead and put any additional comments or questions in the chat now. But I'm just going to go back through and clear some.
Go for
So,
it.
and if there's some that you see, here's one from Jagged earlier that I really enjoyed. If you start sending all 870 episodes of Star Trek,
Goodness.
then
And counting.
by the time you are done, they'd probably have 1,000, and you could do another Everything Everywhere All at Once video,
Yeah.
but Star Trek themed.
Let's
Holy
do it.
shit.
I am all about that.
I wonder
Let's go.
if we were to tell the team that we were going to attempt something as complicated as the EEAAO video, I wonder if everybody like, nah, we're not doing it again.
Yeah, Chris's reaction at the end of that video when he's like, fuck no, is not exaggerated. Like, that is, Chris is 100% like, I am not doing that anytime soon.
Those editors,
it's a really
man.
special occasion.
Like, Ashley fucking nailed it. It was guys, it took so long for that video to come together. You've no idea, but we're glad that you enjoyed it. I am going to give a little bit of a teaser to those of you who are Sin Club members. I'm going to be making a post later on today that I think you're really going to enjoy, and it is related to that video. So
awesome. Oh, I know what this post is about. Yay. That's fun. Knife Fight Elmo says the segment on the show should be wardrobe. Have become in tune with that watching this. It basically did become a segment on Picard, didn't it? Like, just we would set aside some time to just orgasm over everybody's uniform.
Oh my God, I love the clothing so much. In fact, I have a note here because we're doing something I can't tell you about just yet, but we're doing something where I, for a reason, need to choose a Star Trek uniform. And I was very carefully
He's going to dress as a exocomp.
I was, yeah. I just show up with, oh my God.
Do it! Name the exocomp. His little legs.
No, I was thinking about Dr. Fairlawn's outfit because I thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
It was like all velvety and shit. Anyway.
Totally agree. And Picard's jacket made an appearance again in this episode at the very, very end. His casual jacket.
Josh says it's a kind of common theme in Star Trek. There are certainly parallels between this episode and many others. And the android storyline in the first season of Picard, thinking mostly of the ones that go wonky and it leads them all being banned from Earth. And isn't that what led Picard leaving Starfleet? I could be wrong about that. I think Picard left Starfleet because of the Romulan situation, if I remember correctly, but it didn't involve AI.
Yeah, after there was basically a bunch of really simple androids attacked the Mars shipyards, and that destroyed the fleet that was going to be used to rescue the Romulans. And then Starfleet said, well, we tried, and then rubbed their hands of it and said, we're not going to help the Romulans anymore. And Picard said, well, if you don't help the Romulans, I leave Starfleet. And they let him leave. And then that was compounded by the AI ban that followed. So he became super disillusioned on multiple fronts, all within like the space of a few months.
Good shit there. Let's see. Here's one that's completely unrelated to Star Trek from Michael, and that's totally fine because any question goes.
We love it.
We have time for just a couple more. I'm in the early showing of Megan. It's PG-13, so I'm curious on this. Where they go maybe, and it's all guys in the theater right now. Oh shit! That reminds me of when Aaron went to go see. I think it was like a kids movie. I can't remember what it was, but he was a movie critic for he still is for he's like an official movie critic for the news station, and they wanted him to review this particular movie, and it was like geared towards young girls, and he was the only male in the entire room, and he's like in his 40s or something, and he walks in, and all the mothers that are there with their daughters just turn and look at him like he's a fucking predator.
Yeah,
poor guy.
It was like Despicable Me, or it might have been Trolls or something like that. It's super
it was
low
bad. It was some. I can't remember
like
what it was.
My
he
Little
would
Pony
remember.
or something.
Something like that. Yeah,
it was a memory for him.
Bad day. Weird
Bad
day.
day.
He
I'm
takes
excited
it
for Megan though.
It just like rolls off him. He's not bothered by it at all.
No. I do have a really quick one I want to slip in. Underscore X1A. Never get to catch anything live. Got to take this opportunity to thank you two and the whole Sin crew. Laughing at the outtakes or ugly crying at the everything everywhere all at once, all the time, every ding, all the time, everywhere video. You are all amazing. Cheers. Thank
Aw,
you.
thank
That's
you,
so sweet.
underscore.
That's amazing.
So glad to have you here.
Absolutely.
And we do what we do because people like you get it and you have fun watching it, and we love to make people laugh. We love making ourselves laugh. I was just reviewing a script that I'm writing right now with Aaron, and it's just such a delight to read his stuff and crack up, and that's how I feel about everybody on the team.
It's
we
fine.
love
You
it
can say
too.
just Aaron.
I'm a little, yeah, we got to talk
Yeah,
about your writing. Okay.
That's fair. It needs work.
It's fine.
Too many Star Trek references.
Does the exocomp have the ability to create self-sealing stem bolts?
Everything in the Star Trek universe has the ability to create self-sealing stem bolts. It was a running joke in Deep Space Nine. They would always stumble across these stem bolts, and nobody knows what they do.
Let's see. In Relics, Scotty says there's a pattern degradation, which means a percentage of you doesn't make it. So maybe the pad allows more of you to make it through. You know, let's hope so.
I don't want to know. I really don't want to know. The longer you're in there, the more bits of you decompose, and it's like, oh, for fuck's sake, why are we using these machines?
You would think that there would be some kind of like an item that you would wear on your person that would let you know when you've beamed too much. You know, like
a little
you've
badge
got
that says
so
stop.
many.
I want to
like,
know how it detects
so many.
that though, because as soon as it detects it, that means it's too late.
Well, through the experimentation phase that they did with exocomps, they just put them through an experiment to see how long it took for someone to completely degrade. Danae, you could dress your dogs as exocomps.
Oh my god.
They would be perfect little
It would be
exocomps just running about.
amazing.
You're not wrong about that.
I love it so much.
Everyone, thank you guys so much. I'm sorry to have to run so quickly today. Again, thank you for your understanding with us starting today's show late. Next show, as said earlier, is going to be on January 13th, The Measure of a Man. You guys can join us on Discord in between to discuss anything you want. I usually stay out because there are spoilers, but you can do spoiler protection comments in Discord. So if you want to discuss this ahead of time, you can use those like protected features. If you don't know how to do that, just ask the chat. They're really good at making sure you guys know what's going on there.
What I'm going to do is copy. We have a load more questions that are starred. I'm going to copy those and we'll get to them in next week's episode, probably in the pre-show. But yeah, they will not be lost.
I'm going to send you guys over to a super relaxed raid today. So you guys are welcome to just watch for a bit. Maybe this is something that you can put on in the background of your whole life. And it's just something that's very curious. There's 100 people watching this right now. This channel is called Maker Deck. And it's literally video of a whole bunch of 3D printers. I feel like it's appropriate after today's show, talking about potentially 3D printing a little exocomps ourselves. There's some really interesting people who do really interesting 3D printing. I know it's something that Ian's interested in as well. And you can just kind of watch the progress of things. And there's a community, obviously, of these kind of makers that you can get to know. I have this one on the background sometimes just when I don't want to be listening to people talking. I just want to have something on so I can stay focused. And I hope you guys enjoy it. Anything else before we go, Captain?
No, next week the show should be at roughly the regular time. So
Yes.
Aiming for 12 p.m. Central, maybe 12:15. But yeah, should be back to the normal time next week. All being well.
Live long and prosper, everybody. Thank you so much for
Love you,
being here. We love
everybody.
you guys. Bye.
Cheerio.
Cheerio.
Cheerio.